Hey everybody, this is Carl with TriloByte Studios,
And this is Josh.
and today we are discussing Velociraptor and raptors in general, how it's been portrayed in pop culture, and then we are going to contrast that with the truth, the actual truth, what Velociraptors and raptors really were, or the paleontology surrounding Velociraptor and other raptors at this point in time. Now, before we get started here, I'd like to thank everybody who's been liking, thank everybody who's been subscribing, and thank you for all the comments. And if you like what you see, make sure you give us a like. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, and stick around, and hopefully we can get this discussion started for you.
Yep. So Raptors really came into pop culture when in 1993
With Jurassic Park.
With Jurassic Park.
I mean, it's an icon.
Fleet-footed Velociraptor raced onto the screen, and it was big, menacing, and it was an eye catch.
It was love at first sight.
What is this?
It was literally love at first sight with everybody. I remember I wasn't born yet, but even when The Lost World came out, Velociraptor was like the dinosaur,
Which is weird because it was kind of given a smaller role in the second film.
Right, but it
still made such a huge impact.
Yeah, it wasn't even the T-Rex. I mean, the T-Rex was popular, don't get me wrong, but
T-Rex has always been popular.
It was the Velociraptors. The Velociraptors were like the dinosaurs that everybody was like, oh my god, I love dinosaurs. What's your favorite dinosaur? Velociraptor! And it's just like, what? Alright. So, of course, that's probably Velociraptor's most iconic role, and just most iconic role for raptors in general, right?
I think Jurassic Park not only gave a rise to the pop culture of dinosaur enthusiasts with the Velociraptor, but also it kind of also put a nail in its foot, if you get my meaning, because after that's pretty much the design they went with, or raptors in general,
right,
up until present.
And that's kind of the problem with it, and that's what we're going to talk about once we get down to talking about the truth behind Velociraptor and just raptors in general. But it's always been portrayed, and raptors in general have always been portrayed as these wickedly intelligent psycho killers that hunt in packs and can take down prey that is like anything. That is, we talked about in the Peter Jackson movie. They actually show a pack of like raptor-looking dinosaurs attacking an apatosaurus.
A herd of
apatosaurus, which is just absolutely nuts.
I mean, if they were dwarfism, but even then, the raptor still would have been way too small to attack them. So I mean, that goes into a different tangent. But long story short is raptors have always been, like you said, been portrayed in pop culture as the calculating, almost wolf-like dinosaur.
Yeah.
With the crazy killing power of a shark.
Yeah, I would even argue like almost human level intelligence in Jurassic Park.
In some cases, yeah.
Like they literally have the raptors outsmart the guy who's supposed to be there to hunt the raptors in the first Jurassic Park. So it's
which is weird because if he's supposed to be a big game hunter, he should have known that and since he was supposed to be the raptor expert.
Right, but to be fair, he had only ever observed them in the cages. But that's going off on a different tangent. But it's also been portrayed always as the big scaly lizard.
Yeah, leathery lizard.
Or the big leathery lizard, which is not at all how raptors looked in general. And if you look at the anatomy of a raptor from Jurassic Park, or even in other media, like we talked about Jurassic Fight Club a little bit. I can always work Jurassic Fight Club into any one of my videos now. If you look at the raptors in Jurassic Fight Club, they're basically ripped straight from Jurassic Park. And even raptors in other series that are supposed to be more scientifically accurate, which, they are, but they still retain a little bit of that Jurassic Park myth.
Even back in 1999 with the first Walking with Dinosaurs.
Right, they highlighted Deinonychus, right?
Dromaeosaur.
That's it, sorry.
And the animal still had the whole JP look.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Utah Raptors, which was also in that, had the JP look.
Right.
Now, that's no fault of the people that made it in the 90s, because feathers research wasn't really...
Oh, no, feather research was there in the 70s, bud.
But was it due to raptors, or was it just the Archaeopteryx?
No, I'm pretty sure it was there for raptors as well. Somebody will have to fact check me on that in the comments, but I'm 99% certain that feather research up in the 90s was pointing towards feathers being on raptors.
Okay, so basically what you just said is that everything was done because
I'm saying that Jurassic Park screwed everything up when they came out with their...
Jurassic Park screwed a lot of things in paleontology up, but yet it's still a great film.
No, it's a good film, but it set paleontology back by literally 20 years at that point in time, because
I can see that.
It took people's it took the concept that people already had about dinosaurs and reinforced it, right? Because people in the 90s, of course, were still thinking dinosaur. Well, the mainstream audience is still thinking that dinosaurs are these big lumbering lizards that some of them live in swamps, and then Jurassic Park just kind of is here, look, they are exactly like you think they are. But so I mean,
some of them, not all of them,
right? And raptors have had a big impact on pop culture just in general. And I was talking about the biology of the Velociraptor in Jurassic Park. And we know that in real life, that would have more closely resembled Deinonychus or even like a Utah raptor in size.
Yeah, the Velociraptor, air quote here.
Especially with, I want to talk about the facial structure as well, the jaw structure.
Well, that's what I was going to get.
So yeah, go ahead.
So in Jurassic Park, air quote, Velociraptor.
Right.
Is not a true Velociraptor. And if you go back to Michael Crichton, who wrote the book Jurassic Park, he wanted to use a raptor, or Dromaeosaur, I should say, in the book, but he chose the name Velociraptor because it sounds a lot better than Deinonychus.
Right, or Utah raptor.
Which Utah raptor was discovered after the first movie.
Right. So
they didn't actually know that one.
Sure.
The thing is, by doing that, it kind of, I guess, made an image of an animal that never actually existed.
Yeah, it made it,
because you like, if you go into Google or Bing or whatever and type in Velociraptor, you get the Jurassic World image.
Yeah,
which is not actually a Velociraptor.
Right,
as you said, it is a Deinonychus.
Well, it's not even that. It's a weird.
Well, it's a mix of a Deinonychus and a few other,
and a lizard.
But it has more of a robust skull, where a true Velociraptor doesn't.
Right. It had a long gracile skull meant for catching smaller prey because it was small.
Yeah, I mean, they're only the size of an actual turkey.
Right. They're about a little bit bigger than a chicken.
The whole joke in Jurassic Park is a 6-foot turkey, and it's like, no, it's actually a normal sized turkey with a long ass tail.
With a really long tail. So, are there any other iconic roles or portrayals that you want to talk about in media? We talked about Peter Jackson's King Kong in 2005. Of course, we've talked about Jurassic Park. I mean, even in 2022, which is the current year that we're uploading this video, that persistent image of the Velociraptor is still held onto by pop culture because of Jurassic World.
Yes and no.
I'd say yes.
Well,
for the mainstream.
The reason I say that is we just had Prehistoric Planet on Apple TV come out, and they actually portrayed Velociraptor as a true Velociraptor.
Okay.
It was in a few of the episodes. I think episode 2, Desert, and I think episode 3 of Freshwater.
Sure, but what I'm saying is
these were the true size Velociraptors.
Right.
And it had the feathers, it had everything.
Right, but how many people do you think watched that?
From what I found online, it seems like it had a very large community.
Sure.
That went out and seen it and loved it.
Okay, but how many people do you think watched Jurassic World Dominion in comparison?
Probably even more so.
Probably a lot more, right? That's the whole idea. Sadly. Is that the people who are looking for paleontology, who are looking for the scientific accuracy, they already know that Velociraptor isn't at all what the JP look has nailed down, right? Those are the type of people who are watching Prehistoric Planet. I can't imagine a lot of mainstream audiences, the same people who went out to see Jurassic World, are going home to watch Prehistoric Planet. Maybe there might be some overlap like you and I, right? But on the whole, even if it was only 100 million people who saw Jurassic World on the opening box office compared to maybe 2 million who watched Prehistoric Planet. The persistent image of the raptor in pop culture is still blue.
And that was actually one of the interviews for the newer Jurassic films. Is Jurassic Park pretty much became the one-stop shop for many dinosaur mainstream audience knowledge.
Exactly.
There was a guy, I forget, I think it was one of the dinosaur crap, what is it called?
Paleontologist?
It was the paleontologist that works with the movies to make sure the animals...
Like an advisor.
Yeah. Actually said that he works at a museum, and when, they don't read the signs, they just look at the skeleton and go, why did they change it?
Yeah.
They're not going, oh, it's because of the frog DNA, because we're fans of the movie, and like, oh, this the mutation and a mixture of stuff. No, they look at, the Velociraptor skeleton and goes, why did they change it?
Or that's not a Velociraptor.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of going back to what you're saying, is that in pop culture, that is the Jurassic Park raptor is the raptor.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's not actually a Velociraptor.
Right, and that's what I think we can kind of transition into now, which is the truth.
Or should I say the truth?
Or should I say the truth? That's it.
But these animals most likely were just like other large birds of prey today.
Yeah.
What raptor, because raptor means plunder, and then we have eagles, owls, hawks, falcons. That all kind of tie into modern raptors.
That's what we would call a modern raptor.
And if you look at them, one, they're all feathered. They have the bone structure just like their the true Velociraptor, Velociraptor mongoliensis,
right?
Which is from China or in Mongolia, hence the name. Not North America, Jurassic Park. Looking at you.
Oh yeah, I forgot that Dr. Grant,
Dr. Grant digs up
Velociraptor Velociraptor mongoliensis in the middle of North America.
In Montana.
Which
I'm not going to get into that tangent because I told you about the whole Dimetrodon thing. I don't want to bring that up right now.
Yeah, let's not do that. Let's stay on topic a little bit more.
However, to a little bit of backtracking, you were asking iconic roles portrayed in pop culture, and one of them I remember was Chased by Monsters or The Land of the Giant Claw?
Oh,
with Nigel Marven.
I know what you're talking about.
And you actually see a true size Velociraptor, but it's still scaly.
Yeah.
And it's like you were this close, and you still lost.
Right, and you still struck out.
But yeah, that was back in, I think, it
was like
late
2009, 2010.
Yeah, it was 2010 era.
We were like starting to get into the mid to 2009, 2010.
That one, it really did have the look of a Velociraptor, as in scale or by size, I should say.
Right.
And head structure and all that. It was a Velociraptor. It just was nude.
It was
it had no feathers.
It was very naked.
However, Discovery Channel did Dinosaur Planet.
Yes.
And it had Velociraptors, but it had feathers.
Yeah, but it
was
awful.
Well, remember, it was in the earlier or the mid 2000s, not late 2000s. Sure. So it's like at one hand you're getting feathered raptor, but in the other hand the scaly one still.
If you could mix the two. Now
it's called an actual Velociraptor.
Now if they could do the fusion dance. Let's talk about the actual paleontology of raptors in general. We know that raptor paleontology and biology varies with each species. Like we already talked about, Velociraptor mongoliensis is a much smaller species. It's more gracile. It's got a longer snout. It's not built for crushing bone. It's meant for catching small prey, right? It's a small, speedy, quick predator. On the other hand, you have species like Utahraptor, which are much larger, obviously.
Yeah.
And they have a bigger, thicker, denser skull.
Yeah.
Obviously made for taking down larger prey with thicker bones. Now, let's also talk a little bit about raptor hand biology, because that's something that's really been...
That's a big negative in pop culture.
It was a big negative in pop culture, and also implying that raptors could open doors was another big negative. But why did they never go back to that concept? I guess because it was really stupid. Anyway.
Well, not only that, when was there ever a door that they didn't have a normal handle on?
Sure. So, you think about raptors...
I mean... If you think about it, if they had normal handle like doorknobs,
oh yeah, no, they would have been fine.
The raptor, that whole premise would have just been out the window.
Now let's talk about the hand biology. Hand biology on raptors. We know that it was not pronated. It wasn't like that little shriveled up, pulled back Dracula look. With the hands.
The whole blah blah blah.
Yeah, the hands all up next to its face. It would have been down. The hands would have been facing each other, and the fingers. You would have been able to see only the thumb and the forefinger. The rest of the fingers were not necessarily
Well, remember,
fused.
raptors only had 3 fingers.
Right. You would have been able to see the thumb, the forefinger, and then the bottom finger would have been modified into almost a makeshift wing because you had the feathers going all the way back up to the arm.
Well, it still would have been, a normal
you could still
finger.
move that digit.
However, yeah, like you said, it would have a wing covering. So you'll see one finger... possibly part of the middle finger,
maybe even just the claw.
That last finger would have been completely covered with a wing.
Same with now we also know that raptors probably had full blown feathers, not just protofuzz, not proto.
No, it would have looked like an actual bird.
It would have looked like a bird, except
it had true bird feathers
with teeth and claws.
Yeah, that's a totally different image. Instead of you eating the turkey eats you. The turkey eats you,
yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, and I kind of want to bring the discussion to another direction, because we've contrasted, right, the Velociraptor, the Jurassic Park pop culture look with the actual truth, which is these animals were varied in size, they were varied in biology, but they did have certain characteristics.
Stop using the term raptor, because... the family group's actually Dromaeosaurus.
Oh, you're right.
Or Dromaeosaurs. Raptor kind of doesn't do that justice.
No,
because
it doesn't.
When someone hears raptor, they think of the JP
They
Raptor.
think of Jurassic Park Raptors.
Because...
Okay, so hold on. Let me hold your thought. This is what I was trying to get into. So what are some ideas you think that we could do to get away from that Jurassic Park look? One of them, obviously, would be calling them Dromaeosaurs instead of referring to them as raptors.
Honestly... the way I think they should have done, what they should do, and Dominion kind of did the right step.
They started
with
the Pyroraptor.
With the Pyroraptor, showing it in feathers. Granted, they show it dive in ice cold water in the scene, but okay, I guess Hollywood has to be Hollywood somehow.
I guess.
But having that animal on screen for the mainstream audience in actual feathering, because it did have actual featherings. It had the right... Now, granted, I think at some points in the scene, the hands do go to pronate and then back to non-pronate.
Yeah, the hands do pronate.
At some points. And like I said in one of our other videos, that there's a few other minor details that, like where the feathers come on the head and how they attach. Because it looks like it's wearing a giant feathered cape on top of it. So
you're saying that having that portrayal on screen, it starts to open up people's minds to the idea
what actual Dromaeosaurs would look like.
Okay.
Now, another thing they could have done is not only with the Dromaeosaur, or Pyroraptor, I should say, is they should have, had that as like, oh, that was one of Biosen's, earlier attempts. And then the Velociraptor should have been completely 100% accurate.
Well, I'm asking, I'm trying to, so...
But I understand what you're saying is, how would you do it by step?
Or
but
like just saying, how do we get away from it as a community in general? How do we start to open up,
to be honest,
the mainstream
I think,
to it?
That one would be actually, like I said, having to go back to either Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, depending on how Hollywood wants to do it.
Right.
And they have to actually take the mantle up with making their raptors more, or should I say dromaeosaurs, more accurate. Can't talk right now. More,
more scientific, more
paleo accurate. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay.
Because like we said, mainstream audience is not going to be, they watch the movie and that's pretty much their that's their dino information for the day,
for the year.
Yeah, so
they're not going to go home and watch Prehistoric Planet. So are you saying
Hollywood pretty much has put itself in a box, saying that they have to start using more accurate information in their movies? Then
otherwise opinions won't change. No matter how many new documentaries come out.
No matter how many scientifically documentaries or artwork comes out, as long as the pop culture is getting dino information from the Jurassic series or movies like that, the image of the Scaly raptor will persist.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And
yeah, that kind of sums it up. So what we're saying is basically the only way for pop culture's image of raptors to change is if Jurassic World does it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, that's the sad truth, but yeah, unless the Jurassic series decides to advance with more and more scientifically accurate animals, and we saw some, and like I said, some,
yeah,
or the beginnings of those in this movie Dominion, but without that, I don't think that pop culture's raptor will ever change.
Yeah, I agree, because the average Jurassic World viewer is not going to go home and watch Prehistoric Planet. Maybe there are some, like we're kind of a weird overlap because we like the movies and we also enjoy actual paleontology. And maybe there are some kids out there that maybe their parents are just browsing Netflix or where is it streaming?
Apple TV.
And maybe they're browsing Apple TV and they know that their kids like dinosaurs, so it's like, oh, here, look, click. And now their kid is just watching.
Got, 5 hours of quiet.
Yeah, and now their kid is just watching, dinosaurs on TV, and they're actually learning about it. So there might be a little bit of an overlap, but I don't think enough is there yet to say like, oh, we can change the image of raptors if we just keep pushing more scientific evidence at people. Because unless they're specifically looking for it, they're not going to find it.
Yeah. Now, since we kind of went on a little tangent there, let's go back to the biology of raptors and stuff.
Okay.
And it's more of the fact of going back to JP. We see the raptors hunt, I guess you want to say that, in kind of a disemboweling method.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, Alan Grant even
he reiterates
that point in the movie. It's like, yeah, this is how we used to think, but now we actually know that they go for the jugular.
Yeah. And
you can kind of see that somewhat in the Lost World when the raptors are jumping on the guys, and that's actually how we think raptors are. They will jump using their arms and wings to stay balanced. Their feet would hold them down, the prey down, and pinned it. And then the head would just go in and start going for the kill shots.
Right. It's kind of like how lions hunt. They come in and they grab onto something, they drag it down, and then they grab the throat and choke it out.
It's not just lions, but if you watch a hawk or an eagle attack a rabbit or something like that, that's how they do it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a slow step, I guess, in that direction of at least portraying the animals as they actually were. They weren't just, it looks like a cool shot, but that's actual evidence of
that's
how they probably were hunting, or speculative hunting, I guess. However, pack behavior is still up in the air.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we actually have evidence of I know there was a site with Deinonychus and I think it's Dromaeosaurus and it had like teeth and all that.
Yeah, because that's the one that they refer to in Jurassic Fight Club.
Yeah, that one. But to me, that doesn't show pack hunting. That just shows mob mentality over a carcass.
Sure, I can agree with that.
If you have a carcass of an animal, and it kind of goes back with the whole Morrison formation at the dinosaur bone bed, is, you know, here's a carcass of an herbivore. It's going to be attracting all types of predators to it. So if several raptors or dromaeosaurs are attracted to it, they might, you know, go, okay, here's a lot of meat. We all have our own share, because there's a lot of shed teeth in it.
Yeah, no, it doesn't necessarily point to pack hunting behavior. It's that's all speculative, and that's all that archaeology and paleontology is. It's like it's like in archaeology, if you find somebody who was put into a grave and they've got like an arrowhead through an arrow mark through their head, it's like, okay, well, that could point to two things. It could either point that they were killed in a war, they were killed as a sacrifice, they were, you know, murdered. There's so many options there that you can't say for certain when you find evidence like this that this definitely points to, that X definitely points to Y, which means Z. You can't say that.
Yeah. And that's basically all I was getting at, is that even though a lot of the stuff in the movies and with pop cultures with raptors, some of it is accurate but hidden over the, you know, scaly look.
Yeah.
There are parts that in portrayals that are more scientifically accurate than others. And until, I guess, the look of the raptor changes, it's pretty much just...
it's going to be locked in the box.
It's just going to be a side thing that no one really going to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's basically just locked in the box until Jurassic World decides to really do something about it, I guess.
And I guess that's that.
That's that. That's a good way to end it.
I mean, there's no real other way to say it than I guess that's that.
Yeah, that's that. So, this has been Carl.
And this is Josh.
Signing off.
Bye.